Had I had my camera with me, last projection job was Warner Brothers, Warner Village Cinemas at Bristol. This picture might have been taken same time, year, maybe a year after I left or so. Um, I remember this kind of Marilyn Monroe outside, and yeah, that all looks the same. Back view, this canopy. Um, yeah, certainly the vehicles. They definitely look because of the yeah, the I think there are very few pictures of the auditoriums, but had phone things been that sort of thing then, yeah. But surprised I didn't take my little tiny little 35mm little camera or yeah. Of course, DSLR. That wasn't DSLR. Well, that wasn't even common then. That was just very early day sort of thing, I think. But it's a pity I didn't take camera. But interesting. Okay, give a short brief idea on Titanic's opening night at Warner Village, 12plex Bristol. I think it's there. I think it might be there. Or I think it's the other. I think it's there. The other way around. How this is just a cake platter. This is a free platter, triple. So like the opening night of Titanic. This ain't the Warner Village. I'm just using this as an example for those that don't know what a cake platter is. Okay, just consider that's a motor there. So this turns the cake platter. And there'll be another motor like that underneath and another motor underneath the other one. Over on the side here, so can't really see. Might not be the same cake platter. It might have been Christie's. I can't remember the cake platter at Warner's. But the circuit card failed, and it was on the bottom cake platter, and the print had to be wound off, or wound back on. It could have been the middle cake platter or the top cake platter. That just shows another view. 1, 2, 3. So you could have a print there, and then where this projection, this is threading it, and then he'll put it up onto this top platter here, so it get wound back on, and then it doesn't take long to actually, thread and lace up the projector quicker than probably rewinding a 3-hour or 4-hour VHS tape, and you'd have everything back up, and that's cleaning the projector as well. Because it doesn't really take long, because you just start from the middle, pull a few things out, and then just start go around all the up and down the wheels, and you just got to memorize that sort of thing. If you lose track sometimes, you look at the what's it to like refamiliarize, because under pressure sometimes you might just get the thing wound onto the wrong way, or you get the soundtrack round the wrong way, and you've got to make sure always the soundtrack, when you're threading, the soundtrack is facing toward you. If it's not, then when it goes on the projector, the optical soundtrack, is going to be on the opposite side, and it won't be read by what then was clear LED, a clear bulb light, and then it kind of evolved to what they called the red LED cyan LED lights. Like opening night of Titanic, boom, we're stuck. It's in one of the 4 larger screens. Lethal Weapon 4 was in one large screen. Saving Private Ryan was in the other large screen. Armageddon in another large screen. I think the Avengers and a few other movies that I had to review. Check the print and all that. Oh God, I tell you, the Avenger one was god awful. God, oh, it bent my ears, and it was an absolute dreadful movie. That played in one of the medium-sized auditoriums, and some other movies that were probably maybe better than the other ones were playing in the small auditoriums with vertical masking, not horizontal masking. So yeah, me and this other projectionist, she and I were sat on the floor, cross-legged, turning this bottom cake platter to wind the film off, because the film has got to be wound off. It's got to be wound off towards the projector, otherwise it'll strain, it'll pull, and it'll break. You know, and we had to do that for project the Titanic presentation for just, oh gosh, Titanic just runs over a little bit 3 hours, but you got advertisement, and you got trailers. That's all put in on the print, and you got to run that through with the Dolby Digital trailer thing, you know, the helicopter thing or whatever it was. You got to run all that through. That's nearly, oh my goodness, it could have been 3 hours 25 minutes, 3 hour 30 minutes, and I honestly don't know why couldn't have just, oh dear, it was yeah, it was just one of those things like is there a screen that's not being used? Because it was opening night, premiere opening night for, you know, and yeah, things don't usually go right, things hiccup, and but no one in the audience knew the film was being wound off by hand. It took the power of the hand, talk to the hand, to wind that bloody thing off. Oh, crying out loud. Our hands were just black afterwards, because we spent days, everyone, taking turns. You know, you got to peel off this plastic on the cake platters, and then you got to use meth spirit and that, and you got to clean it with go for a lot of tissues, kitchen rolls, and cleaning, get all the aluminium off and such, until it's got, otherwise the film print will be on it and it get, you know. So that took, yeah, a few days doing that, but there's still quite a bit of it still on there, because it was on our hands after the show when we and we were totally knackered. Well, you know, we're taking turns. Sometimes I'm on the floor cross-legged. I'll do 30 minutes or something, and then you come in and you do 30 minutes, and you know, we're just taking turns. We you know, it was kind of an experience to sort of like think, well, something, you know, it's broke. You know, it's either that you announce film's not shown tonight, or it could have. Not all 12 screens, I don't think, were being used on the night. Would have been on probably the second day. I don't know why I just didn't move the print. Someone say, hey, let's just move it. But you got so many audience already, you know, for the larger auditorium. So they ain't going to fit into a medium-sized auditorium now. Because of the seating capacity. So yeah, it was one of those things. It was interesting. And you think of it, just like a tape deck or something, you know, something fails on it, you just wind it. It might be a little bit slow, or they go a little bit high, and a little bit slow, a little bit high. Yeah, you can still wind it, you know. As long as the rest of the electronics are still working, you can turn something. Not laser display. You got to get that up to a certain revolution speed, and there are ways, tricks, ways to, you know, you could figure a way and then get someone pedal something, you know, and get a speed up. It may be a very complex sort of bit of mechanics that. So there we were, projecting Titanic, and you know, I've already seen it at a local downtown so many times. Enough times actually to sink the Titanic. Actually, I saw that too many times, and there was quite a few projectionists that liked it, and other projectionists that didn't like it. You know, they'd rather say, "Well, who wants to do this show tonight or that show or whatever?" And it's like, you know, some like to run the say I like to run Armageddon on its premiere at this cinema here, and so it was myself and another female projectionist. We premiered Titanic by hand at the Warner 12 Plex at Bristol, 1998. Yeah, You know, you see, I'm really into the movie. But there are some that think, God, that movie's awful. I've heard people speaking about it over, over the years, while it was still at the cinemas, and say, God, that movie's awful. Two people on a bench next to it, and I'm waiting for the cinema to open to go and see it again. Because there wasn't anything that good on TV. Certainly not with sound quality and picture size and that. So yeah, projecting Titanic by hand, and the Q dots are up in the upper right corner, and those are only applicable to when you run A, B, C, D projectors, and you have real prints, spools, and then you know most of the probably projectionists, including myself, there, we're not being trained on cake. We're only being trained on use cake bladders. Not. It's like learning a motor car. If you pass in an automatic, I believe at the time was such, you can only drive an automatic. If you could pass in a manual, you could drive an automatic car as well as a manual, because an automatic's easy. You just got to learn the gears and such. And it's more or less the same with projectors. You've got to learn the technique. But sadly, none of us have had that experience with actual, look at Q dot, stand by, ready, but start up, and it just blends in. It morphs. You don't notice it. You only have to get it out by a couple of seconds if you mess up. But it's not perfect. The cake platters make it easier. That's why the Q dots are there. The Q dots are not the Q dots on the film are not there just to say, oh, every 20 minutes. They're there for a reason, because even still, some cinemas back then were still running spools, A, B, C, D, whatever projectors. Today, you don't see that. You don't see Q dots on film anymore. Well, actually, it's digital. Yeah, and that's not real cinema, mind you. That's rubbish. That's TV. That's TV land. It's exactly like home cinema. It is not cinema by any means, and I think even Sir David Lean will probably concur with me. He once said a quote, I think, in this kind of tone of voice. Sir David Lean: "Cinema is original. Television isn't." He kind of made that quote with, I think it was to Lawrence of Arabia, because it was always pan and scan. It was never shown as, because of the size of the TV image. But you look at the size of film print, okay, even still, it's anyway. I'm rambling. Yeah, that's another view. I'm not sure if this is an updated later version, but yeah, I'm not even sure if it's Warner or if it's bought by Cineworld or what now. I have no idea. I think it's one of the foyers and the corridors going down the side, and then down over this side as well. And projection was all on one floor level, so it wasn't like UCI Tower Park. We walk around on the floor level and then you just go through a door into projection. This was all up on the top floor. There was an exit door way back down here. Can't see it, it's off camera. And that goes up the spiral staircase up to the projection. Of course, that's just the front view again of the foyer. There is a picture somewhere I've seen, maybe showing one of the auditoriums, but I can't find it. I'm not sure if that's one picture or what of, because I do remember it looking like this. Something like that. I do remember it looked like that. Again, I mean, a few other the complex Warner Village multiplexes around, other than Leicester Square, that had more or less similar architectural design. But yeah, I do recall it sort of like that, with the numbers and these 1 and 4 here. I think there'll be possibly one of the smaller auditoriums, I think. Maybe larger ones. I think, no, actually, the smaller ones would be a bit further back down the hall, the corridor there, because it was looking above would be more or less near central projection, would be near the four largest auditoriums. I'm not too sure with this picture. I know the auditoriums were pretty darkish. You know, they didn't have colour features to the walls. It was pretty dark. But these zooming in here, I don't know, they look like KCS speakers to me. KCS surround. It's not a very clear picture zooming on it. Maybe this one over there, but I can tell because just it's not really legible. But I can see where that's not a JBL, that's a KCS. Because the logos were more or less down there, and JBL ones, they look kind of like a clone to a 8330 surround, and they're all KCS speakers in the auditoriums, stage channels and subs. I think 4 subs for the larger auditoriums, maybe 4 maybe for the medium, or maybe 3, and then possibly, I think, I never looked, but I think maybe a single maybe for the smaller auditorium. Of course, the number of surround speakers also change, and yeah, there's projection up there, so probably cool. It's all on one floor level, but I'll take that picture as a pinch of salt, because it's not exactly too sure whether, but it does look similar. The seating I didn't kind of like. It didn't have reclining in it. Didn't rock back. It was okay. Actually, I think this seating looks a little bit new, because I think the other seating was just a little bit different. I don't know. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That may be Warner at Village, Bristol, but it's a possibility, the design of the architect, but those are KCS speakers, KCS surrounds there. That's a KCS. So I recall the dome tweeter thing on the, but they had this kind of wedge shape, and it almost looked like a clone, but not entirely like an 8330, but almost similar. You could, first quick glance, you think, oh, it's a JBL, and then, oh, wait a sec, oh no, it's something else. I think this picture's a bit more later date, because judging by the camera angle and that, looks like a camera phone. So if it is the Bristol one, then it's possibly been a little bit refurbished since, but I'll take it a pinch of salt. But yeah, similar. Yeah, and the exit way would be down this side here. Yeah, of course they call it View now, don't they? What the heck's View Extreme? Well, if that's number 1, it's probably one of the larger. If this is the Cribs, Kurzway, Bristol, 12 plat, it's possible. It's possible. That's probably, yeah, number 1, number 2, and number 3, or, well, I don't know the other numbers back, but more or less in the middle. So when you first go in, you go over to the left, go over to the right, you go into you're nearer to the 2 larger screens, and then you go a bit further down, medium size, and then go a bit further down the corridor, the smaller auditoriums. Yeah, I do remember the doors, and the vaguely just pisses me off I didn't have my camera with me at the time.